At the very beginning of known time, an ancient alien species called the Old Ones shaped the fate of the galaxy. They guided young, intelligent races, adjusting their growth toward purposes only they understood. In those distant ages, the warp was calmer, not yet the hostile abyss it would become. When the Necrons rose against them, allied with the cruel star gods known as the Titan, the Old Ones faced near extinction. In response, they created new psychic warrior species, beings bound more closely to the warp and gifted with powerful minds. Among these were the ancestors of the Eldari, and also the Croarch, who may have been the forebears of the Orcs. These creations were meant to turn the tide in the ancient war in heaven. Long before the Emperor of Mankind was born on Terra in the 8th millennium BC, 3 chaos gods had already begun to stir within the warp. Khorne, Tzeentch, and Nurgle were taking shape, though their full awakening would not come until the end of Terra's European Middle Ages, around the year 1400. Slaanesh came far later. Its birth in the 30th millennium was driven by the collective psychic excesses of the ancient Eldari. That moment ended their great empire, ushered in the Age of Strife, and marked the beginning of the Emperor's Great Crusade and the Imperium of Man. Within the Empyrean, time does not flow as mortals know it. From the perspective of the Dark Gods, they are both newborn and ancient, having existed since the first mortal mind awoke millions of years ago. The rise of chaos appears closely tied to humanity's rapid growth, suggesting that mankind played a central role in disturbing the warp and shaping the chaos gods as they are now. All sentient species contributed in some measure, yet humanity's bond with chaos seems unusually close. There is something fierce and unstable within the collective human psyche, something that resonates strongly with the warp. More than 100 centuries ago, the Emperor of Mankind was entombed within the Golden Throne, beneath the Imperial Palace on ancient Terra. He has not spoken or moved since, yet the Imperium he forged endures in his name. Over the long millennia that followed, the Imperium weakened under constant war and internal strife. Even so, it remains vast beyond comprehension. 1 million worlds stand united, bound by faith, fear, and endless conflict. Its fleets and armies make it perhaps the most powerful force in the galaxy of the 41st millennium. Rule rests with the Adeptus Terra, the priesthood of Earth, who govern in the Emperor's name despite his silence. Through terror and zealotry, they hold the Imperium together. Citizens are raised to believe that unseen enemies gather constantly, and that only the God Emperor shields them from utter ruin. Entire populations live under harsh control. Searches, executions, and repression are justified as necessary protection. War sustains the Imperium. Factories and shipyards never rest, and countless conscripts are thrown into battles without hope of victory. Hatred of outsiders is taught from birth, and genocidal wars rage without pause. This unending fear has shaped the Imperium's identity, strengthening its belief in itself as humanity's defender, while isolating it from all others. Its immense military machine advances through sheer momentum, always finding new enemies, even within its own ranks. Worlds that resist Imperial demands are branded traitors, witch hunts flourish, and mutants are slaughtered or forced into despised underclasses. Psychers suffer the cruelest fate. Claimed by the Imperium, they are taken by the black ships to Terra. Few ever return, and their ultimate fate is whispered only in fearful legends. The arrival of the black ship spreads terror and sparks rebellion, yet resistance is crushed without mercy. Though the Imperium claims 1,000,000 worlds, its true borders constantly shift. Distance and delay make accurate records impossible. Across every type of world, from hive cities to agri-domes, humanity lives beneath the Imperial Aquila. If ever fully united, the Imperium would be unstoppable, yet distance, rivalry, and division ensure it never truly is. To some, the Imperium is a brutal but necessary shield against darkness. To others, it is a decaying tyranny choking humanity's future. Both views exist, shaped by where one stands. This account is written from the perspective of those who oppose the Imperium, and its truth is left for the listener to judge. Long before the Imperium, humanity spread across the stars. In a forgotten golden age, countless worlds were settled and many cultures flourished across the galaxy. This era later became known as the Age of Technology. At first, expansion was slow, carried by generation ships moving at sub-light speeds. With the discovery of warp travel in the 15th millennium, humanity's reach expanded rapidly. Worlds were terraformed and marvels of science were created that even now cannot be matched. Much of this knowledge was lost during the Age of Strife. The Adeptus Mechanicus now scours the stars for remnants of that time, known as archaeotech. Occasionally, lost ships emerge from the warp carrying priceless relics of the past. Among the most vital discoveries were standard template constructs. These systems held designs for everything from vast reactors to simple engines, adaptable to any colony's needs. Most were lost, and even a single surviving template is beyond value. The end of the Dark Age of technology is poorly understood. Some speak of warp storms and isolation. Others recall mutation, psychic awakening, and predation from the warp. Followers of chaos see this as humanity's first true fall into anarchy. Whatever the cause, the Age of Strife followed. Human worlds fought each other and alien invaders alike. Many were destroyed or enslaved. Earth itself was cut off by warp storms and descended into chaos, ruled by warring techno-barbarian tribes. During this age, the Emperor emerged on Earth. His origins were unknown even then. Through conquest and vision, he unified Terra and promised a restored humanity, free from ignorance and fear. He foresaw a future where humanity would reclaim the stars. The Emperor allied with the cult Mechanicus of Mars, convincing them he was the Omnissiah. This pact allowed him to prepare for conquest beyond Earth. Fearing chaos, he created the Primarchs, transhuman beings of immense power, meant to lead humanity and stand free of corruption. The ruinous powers intervened, scattering the Primarchs across the galaxy. Unable to recreate them, the Emperor instead created the Space Marines, lesser reflections of the Primarchs, formed to lead his armies. When Slaanesh was born, warp storms around Terra collapsed. The path to the stars opened, the Great Crusade began, and the Imperium was forged through conquest. The Emperor first sought his lost Primarchs, drawn to them through psychic means. Each was found as a powerful leader within an alien culture. They showed no clear sign of corruption, and the Emperor welcomed them as successes of his design. Legends speak of dramatic reunions, though some Primarchs resisted and were forced to submit. Each was given command of a Space Marine legion drawn from their own genetic line. Led by their Primarchs, these legions became unstoppable. The Great Crusade surged outward. Alien empires fell. Human worlds were reclaimed or destroyed. Psychers and mutants were purged, and followers of chaos driven into hiding. Xenophobia hardened as humanity learned to fear all others. Some advanced human civilizations resisted and were crushed at terrible cost. Ancient knowledge was lost to virus bombs and cyclonic weapons. Unification gave way to domination, and refusal meant annihilation. Imperial institutions followed the armies. Governors ruled by tithe. Laws were imposed. Cultures were bent into conformity. Life under the Imperium became defined by obedience and toil. For a time, humanity believed itself reborn. Chaos seemed distant. It was not. The Primarchs had not escaped chaos untouched. Whispers crept into their dreams, feeding pride and doubt. One by one, their flaws deepened. Half of them fell without realizing their loyalties had shifted. Horus Lupercal, greatest of the Primarchs, was named War Master. Trusted above all others, he led the Great Crusade while the Emperor returned to Terra. Slowly, Horus came to see the Emperor as weak and deceitful, hiding selfish ambition behind noble words. Wounded on Davin and saved through a pact with chaos, Horus embraced rebellion. He gathered allies in secret, drawing legions to his cause through loyalty to their Primarchs. The taint spread quietly. At Istvan III, Horus ordered extermination from orbit. Billions died in minutes. Loyalists escaped to warn Terra, but the Imperium was already fracturing. Mars erupted in civil war as the Dark Mechanicum rose. Across the galaxy, rebellion spread. When the Emperor finally acted, he sent 7 legions to Istvan V. 4 of them betrayed the rest. What was later called the Drop Site Massacre marked the true beginning of the Horus Heresy. War engulfed the Imperium. Horus declared himself Emperor. Chaos followed wherever he ruled. After years of devastation, Horus struck directly at Terra. The siege of Terra raged for weeks. The palace fell piece by piece. At the end, the Emperor confronted Horus aboard the Vengeful Spirit, seeking to end the war. A final battle was fought. Horus slew Sanguinius. The Emperor destroyed Horus, but was mortally wounded. Rogaldorn returned his broken body to Terra, where it was placed upon the Golden Throne. Horus's followers fled. Without him, the rebellion collapsed. Traitor legions turned on one another and were driven into the Eye of Terror during the Great Scouring. The cult of the God Emperor arose, shaping the Imperium into a realm of fear and faith. 10,000 1,000 years later, Horus is remembered as the greatest traitor, though some still see him as a rebel against tyranny. Chaos claimed its victory. The Emperor endured, neither alive nor dead. The Imperium entered a long age of decay. Across the stars, the warp storms rage, and the galaxy stands close to the end of an age as the 41st millennium draws to its close. Many prophets and augurs speak of an ending for mankind, while signs of demonic possession spread ever wider through the Imperium of Man. Those psychers who fall to this fate are said to receive a final vision. In their last moments, they glimpse a future of endless despair, an abyss of chaos that offers no release. That same vision now seems to echo across the galaxy, shared in whispers and portents, as countless worlds sense the approach of dark days. Within the Imperium, fear grows quietly. It is the largest of all interstellar empires, yet few truly understand the warp or the beings that dwell within it. Even remote and technologically backward planets have begun to see the signs. Through the spread of mutation, the rise of chaos cults devoted to the dark gods, and the growing number of psychers among humanity. The Inquisition recognizes these warnings, but there are far too many worlds at risk. As psychers collapse in upon themselves, small tears open in reality, then bloody rains of terror follow. In trying to hide the truth and prevent panic, the Inquisitors grow ever more ruthless. For every warp rift that is sealed, more are torn open elsewhere. The boundary between reality and the realm of chaos weakens again and again. The fall of the Eldari stands as a quiet reminder of what failure can bring, and on their craft worlds, the survivors of that species need no runes to sense what is coming. More attuned to the psychic tide than humans, the Eldari feel each new wound in real space and recoil from it. Even the Drukari, cruel and self-serving beyond human measure, fear a galaxy drowned in chaos, knowing that their hidden city of Kamura would not remain safe for long. The alien Tyranids also seem to sense the danger. Some hive fleets change their courses to avoid the warp storms ahead, and there are rare records of splinter fleets lost within warp rifts, most notably after the near destruction of Hive Fleet Kraken at the fall of Iyanden. What became of them is scarcely known. Through it all, the dark gods remain unmoved. Their plans continue, and the thought of a final victory over the defenders of creation appears ever closer. At the end of the 41st millennium, the Great Rift tore open, and with it came the dawn of what Imperial historians would later name the Era Indomitus. From that moment, demonic incursions grew in both scale and frequency, far beyond what the galaxy had known before. The vast wound in reality ushered in an age of terror and bloodshed. The armies of the Chaos Gods, both mortal and demonic, spread across countless worlds, consuming the domains of humanity and alien species alike with little restraint. Had the Chaos Gods truly worked as one, real space might have been entirely lost to the madness of the warp. Yet they remained true to their divided nature. Each pursued their own desires to kill, to change, to pollute, or to indulge in excess, and in this division they failed to overcome the resistance of the galaxy's mortal inhabitants. The Imperium of Man found new resolve with the return of the Primarch rowboat Gillyman. At his side fought a new kind of defender, the Primaris Space Marines, standing as a fresh shield for humanity. Other ancient starfaring species continued to resist. The Eldari and the Necrons refused to bow to the Chaos Gods or accept extinction, while newer civilizations such as the Tau slowly gained greater understanding of the realm of chaos and the beings that dwell within it. The Orcs, driven by battle alone, were stirred to greater violence by the spreading wars, greeting the demonic legions with their usual reckless joy. The Tyranids, by contrast, viewed demons with a particular revulsion, seeing them only as threats that could not be consumed. And so the struggle for the galaxy goes on. The Chaos Gods and their legions press ever forward, threatening to destroy all things, even one another, in their endless pursuit of dominance. Some scholars whisper that the universe mortals see is only a surface. They believe that what feels solid and real is just a thin layer, floating within something far greater and unseen. Beyond sight and sense, vast realms press close, surrounding stars and worlds like an endless sea. They say that reality itself is a kind of disguise, a calm mask drawn over a boundless and shifting ocean known by many names: the Immaterium, the Warp, the realm of chaos. It is a place shaped not by matter but by thought and feeling, where emotion and belief give form to possibility. This realm is never still. It swells and recedes, folding in on itself. Currents of psychic energy drift and collide, slowly gathering into patterns that begin to endure. Over time, some of these patterns awaken, drawing purpose from the emotions that feed them, until humanity dares to name them gods. Many such powers rise and fade with the ages, carried up by the warp and washed away again. Yet 4 stand apart, vast and enduring: Khorne, Slaanesh, Nurgle, and Tzeentch. Each embodies an absolute, unsoftened by doubt or mercy. Across countless cultures, old stories speak of a time before form. Some say the gods shaped the world from their own substance. Others tell of great beasts slain so their remains could become the foundation of creation. In other tales, the mortal realm is born from the wreckage of divine wars. More careful minds suggest another path. They argue that the material universe came first, and that the realm of chaos was once calm. Only later was it stirred and reshaped by mortal passions, fears, and desires, until the powers within it took on will and hunger. In the end, it matters little which came first. The ruinous powers exist in both realms, drawing strength from souls in turmoil. They grow on hope and terror alike, until nothing mortal remains within them. What they are now is vast, complete, and beyond compassion. Some mortals still turn toward them, even from beyond the realm of chaos. Those who offer devotion must walk alone, learning too late what such allegiance brings. Visions come, bodies change. Marks and mutations appear without warning, yet the promise of power blinds many those who serve them. Power is given and taken without reason, according only to distant whims. Mortals are toys briefly noticed, then discarded. Perhaps corruption is enough, and once begun, the soul will arrive in time, regardless of belief. Or perhaps the gods do not truly see mortals at all. Their thoughts and motives may simply be too vast and alien. To most who know of them, the greatest hope is not favor or escape, but to pass unseen beneath their attention. Khorne is the blood god. He is the god of war, of murder, and of violent death. His power comes from blood spilled and skulls taken in his name, and the vast scale of violence across the galaxy has raised him above the other chaos gods. He is said to sit upon a throne of brass, resting on a mountain of skulls claimed by his followers. Around him stretch fields of shattered bones and rotting corpses as far as sight allows. As the god of battle, Khorne grants favor to those who show strength and skill in combat. Great warriors often draw his gaze, and those who follow him are almost always consumed by the act of killing itself. His warhouse are filled with savage heretic Astartes and twisted mutant fighters. They share their god's direct view of warfare and prefer to rush headlong into battle, seeking victory through close combat rather than careful planning. In their frenzy, they give little thought to defense or strategy. Khorne despises sorcery, psychic powers, and deception, and those who rely on such tools find no welcome in his favor. Empowered endlessly by conflict, Khorne grows stronger wherever war is waged. He seeks the death of others and values the clash of blades over distant weapons. In this, he stands in complete opposition to Slaanesh, whose influence turns inward toward pleasure and sensation rather than outward violence. Khorne distrusts sorcerers and psychers, seeing them as weak and cowardly. This fuels his suspicion of Tzeentch, though they are not true archenemies. Khorne is known as the furious lord of battle, whose roar of rage is said to echo back to the first act of violence ever committed. For ages, devotees of chaos have argued over the origins of the blood god. Some believe it was his will that drove the first mortal to kill another in blind rage, beginning the cycle of violence that feeds him still. Others say Khorne was born from the first feelings of fury and anger in mortal hearts. His true followers care little for such questions, for they are too busy killing whatever stands before them. Khorne's warriors are said to be the most ferocious in the universe. He loathes magic and trickery, and the blood of sorcerers is considered a prized offering. Some followers speak of honor or bravery, but the most devoted know that bloodshed itself is all that truly matters. They believe his throne stands upon a mountain of skulls rising from a sea of blood, proof of endless sacrifice. To them, Khorne is pure and mindless violence, a hunger that destroys friend and foe alike. Such believers are few, and their numbers shrink as they gladly send one another to death, knowing Khorne cares not from where the blood flows. Khorne is often shown as a massive armored figure, his blades carved with skulls and crowned by a winged helm with a snarling, bestial face. He usually wields a rune-covered sword or axe, though some cultures show him with only fists or claws. Despite his destructive nature, Khorne is the most active of the ruinous powers. Endless war feeds him constantly, drawing the dead into his realm. He needs no promises or subtle lies, for anger and fury already lie close beneath mortal civility. Violence is often praised in a hostile universe. Soldiers, commanders, and protectors may begin with noble aims, seeking only to defend others. Over time, that purpose hardens into a desire to strike back, then into a hunger for battle itself. Pride and brotherhood are encouraged, and authority directs violence toward chosen enemies. Wars are fought in the name of protection. Cities are destroyed in the name of necessity, and entire populations are consumed. In this way, countless souls drift toward Khorne without ever meaning to. Beyond the Imperium, warriors often call upon Khorne before battle, offering victories in his name and blood sacrifices to regain his favor after defeat. Rumors of his champions alone can sway worlds, and many followers gather vast armies and fleets for conquest. Success and failure mean nothing to him. Khorne grows strongest wherever ambitions collide, no matter who prevails. His demons are fearsome creatures of legend, horned and fanged with blood-red hides and burning eyes. To bargain with them without blood to offer is folly, for they live only to be unleashed upon any victim they can reach. These allies are dangerous, quick to turn on those nearby, but many see that as a fitting risk. The greatest of Khorne's demons are the bloodthirsters, his most favored servants. They exist only for combat and attack without fear or restraint, relying solely on their own power. Below them march the bloodletters, formed from mortal souls that died in bloodshed. They appear as horned, red-scaled fiends with elongated skulls, wielding hellblades sharpened on the souls of the fallen. Their fury grows as slaughter continues, making them nearly unstoppable. Among Khorne's legions also stride juggernauts and fleshhounds. Fleshhounds are relentless hunters that chase prey across the realms of chaos. Those gifted with witch sight speak of red hounds that haunt dreams, their howls lingering even after waking. Juggernauts are massive beasts of brass and machinery, driven forward by pounding limbs that crush all in their path. Demons and chaos champions ride them into battle, turning them into living engines of destruction. Khorne despises Slaanesh above all other chaos powers. The indulgence and sensual excess of the Prince of Pleasure offend everything the blood god represents. Duty, honor, and sacrifice stand opposed to self-indulgence, and so their servants often attack one another without hesitation. Khorne also holds little respect for Tzeentch. The reliance on sorcery and manipulation deepens their rivalry, though both will sometimes fight side by side when bloodshed serves them both. Such alliances are brief, and betrayal soon follows. When these powers clash or briefly unite, chaos waxes strong in the mortal realm, yet such pacts never last, for the nature of Khorne's rage and Tzeentch's schemes ensures that allies soon become enemies once more. Nurgle is one of the 4 great chaos gods. He is the god of disease and decay, born from the fear of death that touches every mortal life. He embodies rot and corruption, spreading plagues that rise, fade, or wipe out entire worlds. Many who suffer his diseases turn to worship him, hoping to ease their pain. Nurgle delights in creating new afflictions, watching mortals struggle to cure them. Often his wars are won before they begin, as sickness weakens all resistance. Among his most dreaded gifts is Nurgle's Rot, which slowly transforms its victims into plague bearers. His followers obsess over spreading disease and become swollen, rotting forms of flesh riddled with sores and decay. Some instead grow thin and pallid, yet wield terrible power over illness. His champions are so corrupted they feel little pain and are almost impossible to kill. Though equal in strength to Khorne and Tzeentch, Nurgle's power rises and falls. At times his armies are endless, and at others they hide and wither in forgotten places. Nurgle draws strength from despair and stagnation, placing him in direct opposition to Tzeentch's promise of change. He is known by many names: the Lord of Decay, the Fly Lord, the Great Corruptor, all reflecting his dominion over entropy and corruption. He is said to be closest to mortal suffering, touching lives from birth to death through sickness and frailty. Fear of dying feeds him, and the desperate wish to cling to life opens a path into the soul. Quiet prayers and final pleas are offerings he gladly accepts. Nurgle is often shown as a bloated figure swollen with rot, his skin torn and leaking, organs spilling forth in grotesque abundance. Tiny demons crawl from his sores, feeding upon the corruption he embodies. His worshippers believe those who die of his plagues are drawn straight to his realm. Some who praise him loudly are spared, becoming carriers of his blessings. Only a few endure his gifts long enough to become true champions, hardened by fever and decay. As pandemics spread, Nurgle's power can eclipse that of all others, only to fade again when the plagues pass. His champions threaten crowded worlds and void ships alike, where disease spreads unchecked. Such was the fate of the Death Guard during the Horus Heresy. Trapped in the warp, they were consumed by a terrible contagion. Even their Primarch, Mortarion, fell and called out in despair. Nurgle answered, and Mortarion became his greatest champion. Nurgle's demons are hideous and foul, yet strangely cheerful. They take pride in their work and see suffering as gratitude. The greatest among them are the great unclean ones, reflections of Nurgle himself, often called Father by their followers. They are oddly warm and sentimental, fond of their children and proud of their work. Plague bearers serve beneath them, gaunt figures who count the spread of disease. Even a single wound from their blades carries death. The smallest are the Nurglings, mischievous swarms that overwhelm foes through sheer numbers. Nurgle stands as the ancient enemy of Tzeentch, eroding schemes with decay and waiting patiently for all things to fall apart. Slaanesh is the dark prince of chaos, the god of pleasure and pain. He is the youngest of the chaos gods, born of desire, indulgence, and hidden vice. All who seek pleasure risk falling into his grasp. He rules over passion, luxury, and sensation, feeding on cravings mortals try to conceal. Unlike Khorne, Slaanesh acts inwardly, shaping the mind rather than spilling blood, though combat can still please him when it becomes art. His followers chase sensation in all things: colors, sounds, feelings and emotions must grow ever more intense to satisfy them. They wear extravagant armor and fear nothing, even defeat, which becomes just another experience. Though currently the weakest of the four, Slaanesh grows steadily stronger. The secret thoughts of mortals, especially among humanity and the Eldari, feed him constantly. Given time, he may rival or surpass the others. Slaanesh was born from the decadence of the ancient Eldari. Their unchecked desires gathered in the warp, slowly forming a new power. As it grew, it drove them deeper into excess until resistance became impossible. When Slaanesh awoke fully, the Eldari Empire was destroyed. A psychic scream tore through reality, shattering their civilization and creating the Eye of Terror. Countless souls were consumed, leaving the survivors broken and hunted. Slaanesh embodies everything the fallen Eldari lost themselves to. He offers forbidden pleasure and endless temptation, drawing in nobles, rulers, and entire cults. His influence begins subtly with simple wants and small comforts and grows into obsession. Pleasure cults have destroyed entire worlds, reducing societies to madness and ruin. He is often shown as an androgynous figure of disturbing beauty, horned and clad in ornate armor. His worship involves excess in all forms, and death through overindulgence is seen as a blessing. His demons share his beauty and horror. They inspire desire and revulsion in equal measure, their presence overwhelming mortal senses. The greatest of them are the keepers of secrets, beings who delight in stripping away every defense of the soul. To bargain with one is to surrender dignity and restraint, until nothing remains but raw desire. The lesser demons of Slaanesh are the demonettes, graceful and monstrous creatures whose beauty disarms even as they strike. Their dances and songs twist reality, and their laughter hides the pain they inflict. Some ride as steeds of Slaanesh, swift and unnatural beasts whose tongues paralyze with ecstatic agony. Victims are left helpless beneath their riders. Slaanesh cares little for alliances, lost in his own indulgence. His followers clash often with those of Khorne, both in the mortal realm and within the realm of chaos. Though weaker in open battle, Slaanesh excels at corruption. His influence can undo entire armies through a single well-placed convert. Wherever Khorne's rage burns brightest, Slaanesh's servants often work quietly, waiting for desire to lead warriors astray. Tzeentch is the changer of ways, the god of change and dark knowledge. He is the unseen hand that guides fate, valuing intellect and sorcery over brute strength. His followers are scholars, psychers, and sorcerers, seeking power through understanding. Many are twisted by his gifts, mutating into mindless forms, though those who endure become formidable foes. Tzeentch is as powerful as Khorne, though his strength lies in manipulation rather than armies. His schemes are endless, shaping alliances and conflicts across time. He embodies hope, ambition, and the desire for change, placing him in opposition to Nurgle. Known by many titles, Tzeentch watches every plan and dream. He feeds on human ambition and the longing for a better future. Even the smallest desire for change adds to his power. His plans are layered and unknowable, often appearing to contradict themselves. Through subtle influence, he draws leaders and rulers into his designs, offering glimpses of the future or small advantages that reshape history. Images of Tzeentch vary, showing a shifting form of horns, faces, and flowing magic. His presence warps reality, and whispers echo with hidden meaning. His demons are creatures of pure sorcery. The greatest are the Lords of Change, towering bird-like beings of shifting color and vast knowledge. Their bargains promise wisdom but demand the soul in return. Below them are horrors and flamers, living manifestations of warp fire and change. They twist and split in battle, laughing as they burn their enemies. Among Tzeentch's creations are the Discs of Tzeentch, predatory creatures of warp space bound as swift mounts. They hunt lost souls in the realm of chaos and serve those who know how to control them. Tzeentch stands in direct opposition to Nurgle, where Tzeentch draws strength from ambition and transformation. Nurgle feeds on despair and acceptance. Followers of Tzeentch seek revolution and change, breaking stagnant systems before decay can claim them. In this endless struggle between hope and rot, their conflict continues without end. Malice is the renegade god of chaos. He embodies contention, vengeance, and pure anarchy, turning chaos against itself. He is the enemy of the other chaos gods, and no ally of mankind. Though once known by another name, he has faded from recent histories, leaving only whispers of a power that thrives on chaos tearing itself apart. Vashtorr the Arkifane rules the Forge of Souls, where demon engines and weapons are created. He serves chaos undivided and claims no bond with the four great gods. Born from mortal obsession with invention and progress at any cost, he embodies innovation stripped of conscience. Engineers, scientists, and creators are drawn to him, feeding his power through their relentless curiosity. His followers form the cult of the Arkifane. Their armies and fleets are known as the cogs of Vashtorr, each turning endlessly in service of creation without restraint. Followers of Chaos Undivided worship it as a single force, seeing the gods as aspects of one greater power. They may honor all equally or favor one without forsaking the rest. This devotion allows their leaders to unite forces that would otherwise clash. As a result, their warbands are the most varied and unpredictable. Many traitor legions and renegade space marines follow this path, including the Black Legion led by Abaddon the Despoiler, the greatest champion of Chaos Undivided. Within the Imperium, there exist 8 Aetheric Dominions. Each reflects a fundamental aspect of chaos, and several find expression through one of the great chaos gods. Together, they form a shifting whole, vast and indifferent, older than any single struggle remembered by mortals. Encroaching Ruin is chaos without division or refinement. It desires no conquest and seeks no balance. It moves only toward the end of all ordered existence, where every mortal thing is undone and forgotten. This hunger is patient and absolute, drawing all demonkind into a single destructive purpose, and it is given form through Chaos Undivided. Formless Distortion speaks to the true nature of chaos as something unstable and unknowable. Though demons may wear shapes that echo mortal flesh, their essence never settles. It twists and changes without rest. Some that enter the materium embody this fully, becoming shifting masses of immaterial flesh, where death is not an ending, but merely another stage in endless transformation. Heedless Slaughter is bound to the joy of battle and the fury of bloodshed. For these demons, there is no cause and no question. To fight and to die is enough. They stride into conflict adorned as conquerors and executioners, caring only for the count of skulls and lives taken, blind to the difference between ally and enemy. This dominion finds its embodiment in Khorne. Putrid Corruption moves more slowly, but with no less certainty. It eats away at body and soul, offering no release even in death. Those aligned to it care little for victory or loss, wishing only to spread suffering without end. When they manifest in the material world, they do so through disease and filth, content to share their ruinous gifts with all they touch. This dominion is embodied by Nurgle. Ravenous Dissolution is born of hatred so deep that it turns inward. The warp devours itself as readily as it seeks to destroy others. From such chaos, there can be no trust and no alliance, only ever new and unpredictable threats. This self-destructive dominion is embodied by the minor chaos god Malice. Malevolent Artifice reflects the urge to create, twisted into something cruel and destructive. Within the immaterium, invention becomes a tool of domination and ruin. When such demons are drawn into real space, they turn mortal works against their makers, wearing forms that blur flesh and machine. Each action is a quiet declaration of supremacy over both life and the things mortals dare to build. This dominion is embodied by Vashtorr The Arkifane, master of the Forge of Souls. Infernal Tempest is the raw power of the warp made manifest. These demons arrive wreathed in elemental fury, surrounded by prismatic fire and crackling lightning as the ground itself fractures and transforms. They seek no purpose beyond the release and spread of this power, pouring it freely across the battlefields of the material realm. This dominion is embodied by Tzeentch. Rapturous Sensation is a storm of feeling and impulse without restraint. For those bound to it, the outcome of violence matters little. What matters is the experience itself. They delight in pain and fear, in every blinding flash and thunderous blast, racing across shattered battlefields to deliver deaths they find exquisite. This final dominion is embodied by Slaanesh. The Imperium is vast and powerful, yet the realm of chaos stretches farther still. Even within the material universe, the rule of the Emperor exists as scattered lights surrounded by a deeper darkness. There are many who do not seek the Imperium's protection and instead reject its laws, choosing to weaken its works from within or beyond its reach. Some of this resistance grows inside the Imperium itself, where rebels and secessionists struggle against what they see as chains of oppression, especially among the lowest classes, shaped by the priesthood of Terra. These are people who remember freedom, or believe they do, and who would rather bend the knee to the uncaring ruinous powers than submit to the distant corpse god on Terra. Some flee bondage at any cost. Others resist without fully understanding why, driven only by the need to fight the tyranny they feel pressing down on them. All of them become servants of chaos in one way or another, whether by choice or by ignorance, and they continue to fight in the long war that began with Horus 10,000 years ago. The Imperium names many heretics simply because they live beyond its control, outside the borders of the Imperium of Man. Though its domain is said to span the galaxy, there are immense regions of space that remain unknown to it. These distant reaches are called many things, such as the Outlands, Wilderness Space, or the Halo Stars, and within them entire civilizations can rise and fall without ever knowing the Imperium exists. In these regions, renegade warbands are countless and varied. Some are little more than feral tribes on worlds too insignificant to warrant an imperial presence, touched only by wandering missionaries or distant orbital surveys. Others are independent starships, mining concerns, or isolated colonies hidden in places imperial vessels rarely reach. Some star systems cut off for centuries by warp storms choose when contact returns to remain unseen. The Galaxy sector stands as an imperial stronghold on the edge of the galaxy, surrounded by such uncontrolled regions. Beyond it lies the Cronus expanse in the Halo Stars, reached through the unstable warp passage known as the Cronus Passage or the Maw. Past that threshold, imperial rule ends, and unknown human societies endure in secrecy. Other outlands press close as well, from the Hazeroth Abyss to the fringes of the Drusus Marches, and the nomad space between Calixis and the Exaniat sector. The renegades who dwell there reflect the harshness of their homes. Some come from savage worlds like Nadoesh or Vaporius. Others descend from nomad or heretical clans, such as the Meritech pirate clans that once warred with the Galaxy sector and were destroyed long ago. Many Outlander groups believe survival came only because they learned to honor the ruinous powers, offering sacrifices to the dark gods in exchange for sustenance and fortune. Among them are Psyker dynasties and bloodline clans bound by ancient demonic pacts, some claiming their origins reach back to the time when the Emperor still walked among the living. Knowledge is kept within families, preserved through blood, and includes forgotten technologies and perilous warp routes that astonish outsiders. The Adeptus Mechanicus is deeply alarmed by such heretics and often urges Imperial forces to hunt them down without delay. Despite claims of ancient lineage, Imperial authorities see all such groups as smugglers and pirates. Battlefleet Calixis and other naval forces destroy unregistered ships and erase known pirate havens whenever possible. As a result, renegade clans act with caution, hiding their movements and disguising their dealings whenever Imperial eyes might be near. Their numbers continue to grow as the Imperium casts out its own. Fallen nobles, defeated soldiers, disillusioned priests, ruined merchants, mutants, and unsanctioned psychers all drift into wilderness space. Life there is brutal. Strength is respected, weakness exploited, and a clever renegade can rise quickly to power on a feral world before turning back toward Imperial space to raid and burn. Some renegade communities trade openly with alien races, united by profit or shared hatred of the Imperium. Orc mercenaries, Eldari corsairs, and Strixus traders may pass through such settlements, while entire human enclaves exist under Xenos rule in exchange for loyalty. Smuggling xenotech and forbidden goods is lucrative, and the cold trade from the Halo stars alarms the Ordo Calixis greatly. Rogue traders and Chartist captains sometimes profit from these dealings, though betrayal is common and survival uncertain. A few renegades venture into Imperial space, but capture means torture and death. To protect those they leave behind, some clans use memory blocks and synaptic tampering, erasing knowledge before the Inquisition can tear it from their minds. For those who reject the Emperor's law, life inside the Imperium is filled with danger. In a society where even the innocent are punished, the guilty must move carefully to survive. To many citizens, the Imperium is a source of fear and oppression, yet not all who resist it begin as servants of chaos. The Ecclesiarchy enforces rigid belief, condemning entire faiths as heresy for the smallest deviation from the Imperial Creed. Psychers and mutants suffer greatly, surviving only as outcasts in rare sanctuaries or dying openly in the streets. As authority tightens, political groups, labor movements, guilds, and even criminal organizations can become shelters for anti-imperial feeling. Fear of the Inquisition drives such groups underground, where cells and covens form in secrecy. Hidden shrines are tended while public devotion to the God Emperor is carefully maintained. Workers labor by day and dream of revolt by night, and wherever dissent grows, chaos finds fertile ground. The promise of forbidden knowledge draws in the ambitious and the desperate. Across the galaxy, even on Mars and Terra, people experiment with forces they barely understand, seeking power or insight that might raise them above others. Many do not realize they serve chaos at all, entering through warrior lodges or scholarly circles that appear harmless on the surface. Often, a chaos power is worshipped under another name, while daemon princes and lesser entities receive devotion equal to that given to the great gods of Khorne, Tzeentch, Nurgle, or Slaanesh. Some cultures embrace chaos as a full pantheon, a belief common in tribal societies. Imperial missionaries attempt to reshape such faiths, but traces of demon worship linger stubbornly. Even those who appear holy may serve darker masters, venerating saints whose true forms are anything but pure. Those who crave real change may turn to ancient pacts and forbidden lore when weapons fail them. On some worlds, anarchists resist order itself, while on others, fearful nobles revive old and brutal traditions to maintain control. No imperial world is free of this hidden corruption. Some cults have survived for centuries, quietly placing their followers into positions of influence. The Inquisition watches for them relentlessly, especially when signs appear that daemons have been summoned or spoken to directly. A chaos cult that grows strong enough can doom an entire world. Through sorcery, the barriers between reality and the warp can be torn open, allowing the demonic legions of the ruinous powers to pour through. As chaos saturates a planet, it becomes something else entirely, neither fully real nor wholly of the warp. Such a place is known as a daemon world. On these worlds, the laws of nature no longer apply. Demons wander freely, sustained by constant tides of magic, while mortals exist only as tools, champions, or slaves. To the worshippers of chaos, daemon worlds offer refuge beyond the reach of the Inquisition, whose power falters before such warped realms. No one knows how many daemon worlds exist, or whether some remain within the galaxy at all. Navigators speak of worlds adrift in the immaterium, far from any star, and warp storms are said to have carried planets across time and space. The greatest concentration lies within the Eye of Terror. The legends speak of others scattered throughout the void. Some believe every major warp storm shelters a daemon world at its core. On these worlds, billions of mortals live in torment. Some fight endlessly in warbands for their master's amusement. Others perform strange and meaningless labors, tracing runes, counting sand, or raising monuments only to tear them down again, their purpose changing without warning. A number of daemon worlds are ruled by remnants of the Chaos Space Marine Trader Legions. These serve as forges and training grounds for the long war against the Emperor. Regiments are raised, shattered, and reforged until only hardened survivors remain. From slavery, a few may rise through skill and ferocity, perhaps even earning rebirth as something greater than human. Time flows strangely in these places. Space Marines who once fought beside Horus still endure, remembering their defeat at Terra and swearing vengeance against the false Emperor. Over the millennia, their Black Crusades have devastated Imperial space, leaving corruption behind even when worlds are reclaimed. Psychers and mutations become more common, and cults flourish in the aftermath. The traitor legions constantly seek to weaken the Imperium, often working through renegades and hidden cults. Inquisitors watch for these signs, knowing that with so many worlds to defend, their task can never truly be finished. The Chaos Gods do not exist alone within warp space. From their own power, they create servants known to mortals as demons, beings drawn from ancient fear and belief. These entities are shaped when a Chaos God divides a portion of its essence, binding thought and purpose into a separate will. Though they act independently, their loyalty is assured, for the power that sustains them can be reclaimed at any moment. Only when that power is lost can a demon be truly destroyed, its mind dissolving back into the currents of the warp. Daemons have no true physical form. The warp rejects all natural laws, and even starships survive there only by carrying fragile bubbles of reality with them. A demon, instead, projects a shape formed from psychic energy, reflecting its nature and allegiance through strange and inhuman forms. When a demon manifests in real space, it appears solid but remains a being of pure warped energy. Destroying this projection does not kill it, but banishes it back to the warp. There it must recover its strength, unless it is reabsorbed by its creator. Legends claim such a banishment lasts 1,000 years and a day, though time itself has little meaning in the warp. Humiliation follows defeat. A banished demon endures the mockery of its kind and plots revenge. The strongest call upon servants and lesser demons to aid them, though all such bargains carry a cost, and no demon willingly submits to another's rule. For a demon to enter the mortal realm, the barrier between reality and the warp must be breached. Such rifts vary from faint thinning to fast wounds like the Eye of Terror or the Maelstrom. Some appear by chance, while others are torn open by ritual or divine will. At times, weakened barriers allow a demon to possess a mortal, turning that body into a gateway for others to follow. These incursions can twist worlds beyond recovery, dragging them into the warp and transforming them into daemon worlds. To confront such threats, the Ordo Maleos is granted immense authority by the High Lords of Terra. Often it is the warp itself that breaks through. Storms, warp drive failures, or uncontrolled psychic outbursts can rip reality open. Deliberate sacrifices and rituals can do the same, and even widespread suffering can create a breach large enough for invasion. Most rifts are fleeting, demonic hosts trapped in real space without warp energy soon wither away. The Eye of Terror is the greatest exception, enduring for more than 10,000 years and visible from countless imperial worlds. Born from the creation of Slaanesh, it contains innumerable daemon worlds and the strongholds of the traitor legions. Other great rifts exist, such as the Maelstrom near the galactic core, along with many lesser ones scattered throughout the galaxy. Warp storms can isolate worlds or entire sectors, as happened during the Age of Strife when Terra itself was cut off for 5 millennia. Some storms become permanent, trapping systems in endless turmoil. The warp is essential to humanity. Through it come travel, communication, and psychic power. Navigators guide ships through its tides, protected by Geller fields and faith. Yet chaos also feeds upon humanity, drawing strength from emotion and thought. Rage, desire, decay, and change nourish the dark gods in an endless cycle. As psychic power becomes more common among humans, disturbances in the warp grow. Each psyker creates ripples that can fade or swell into storms, each holding the potential to empower chaos. But demonic invasion is like hell unleashed. Demons strike without warning, hunting or slaughtering at will. Those with latent psychic abilities suffer first as uncontrolled power consumes them. Reality warps, buildings fall, and terror spreads through screams and foul sensations. Conventional warfare offers little defense. Fear and hatred only sustain the invaders, and only sealing the rift can end their presence. Battles against demons are chaotic and unpredictable, for their goals may be vast or trivial, or may not exist at all. In such moments, the will of the Immaterium alone decides what fate awaits the world it touches. Imperial scholars use the name Forces of Chaos for the many servants of the ruinous powers who seek the fall of the Imperium of Man. Their aim is not reform or rule, but replacement, a world shaped by pure chaos and held in a state without order. Such an outcome is believed to end in ruin, bringing the slow extinction of the human race and, in time, the loss of all sentient life across the Milky Way galaxy. To make sense of this threat, scholars tend to divide these forces into 3 broad forms. There are the demonic beings of the warp, inhuman entities entities that belong to that realm and only rarely touch the physical universe. There are the lost and the damned, mortal followers such as chaos cultists, traitor guardsmen, mutants, and others who have given themselves to chaos. And there are the most powerful of Chaos's mortal servants, the traitor legions of the Chaos Space Marines, alongside the Heretics and the traitor Titan legions of the Dark Mechanicum. Each of these groups is vast and complex enough to warrant dedicated examination, and each will be addressed in its own right in future material. For a long time, the Imperium tried to keep its people safe by hiding the truth. The existence of the Chaos Gods and their demons was kept from almost everyone. Even the Chaos Space Marines were meant to remain unknown. Only a few were allowed to carry this knowledge. Some Space Marines knew. Sanctioned Psychers knew. The Inquisition knew. For all others, the truth was considered too dangerous to hold. Exposure to the demonic rarely ended well. It became common practice to erase memories even among the Adeptus Astartes. Entire chapters were sometimes mind-wiped after such encounters. Those who were not considered essential were often killed. Others were spared but altered. Their memories were changed, or in extreme cases, completely erased. This approach existed long before the Emperor of Mankind was bound to the Golden Throne. In those earlier ages, only the Emperor and his Primarchs understood that the warp held thinking beings that could possess minds in real space. Even then, the truth was kept incomplete. During the Great Crusade, the Primarchs were not told what the warp truly was. They were not told that it was ruled by malignant intelligences, like the monsters of ancient human myth. The Emperor feared that this knowledge alone would lead some of them toward corruption. The Imperium learned that to face a daemon is to face something that changes you. Such battles leave marks that never fully fade. Because of this, the Imperium decided that even knowing chaos exists can be the first step toward damnation. Survivors of demonic wars were taken by the Inquisition. Some were mind-wiped, some were locked away for life. In the worst cases, entire worlds were destroyed through exterminatus. Across the ages, the galaxy has suffered countless warp disasters. Since the Inquisition was founded after the Horus Heresy, even the idea of demonic incursions was judged too dangerous for public knowledge. Records were erased. What remained survived only in forbidden imperial texts, and in Zeno's writings the Inquisition had not yet destroyed. This secrecy began to strain as time passed. By the 41st millennium, many Space Marines had already fought demons, even if they were not meant to understand what they faced. Still, the Inquisition continued its practices, sometimes wiping whole chapters. Not all accepted this quietly. The Space Wolves were among those who resisted any such intrusion by force. After the opening of the Great Rift and the birth of the Cicatrix Maledictum, the old policy could no longer hold. The galaxy was split in two. Demonic incursions became constant. Space Marine intervention became unavoidable. In the Era Indomitus, the Imperium could no longer pretend that demons were rare or unknown. Among the Adeptus Astartes, secrecy simply became pointless. chaos is not an enemy from beyond, but the echo of thought and emotion made real in the warp. As long as sentient minds endure, the dark gods will endure with them. The Imperium survives, not through hope or progress, but through sacrifice, ignorance, and endless war. Chaos cannot be destroyed, only delayed. Every victory is temporary, every failure eternal. Thus, the war has no ending, only endurance measured in blood and centuries in a galaxy where even survival is a kind of defeat.